Hello and welcome to the Marketing Mix. I hope you had a great bank holiday weekend. They seem to be coming thick and fast, these bank holidays. Another one coming up at another two coming up at the end of this month or beginning of next month. So look out for those. But today, what we're going to talk about is something that I get asked all the time when I talk about email marketing. It's probably in the top two questions that I get asked every single time. And that question is, how do I open my, how do I increase my email open rates? It's something that businesses are interested in. And whilst I tell people to focus on your click rates, there is a really important reason why you should be paying attention to your email open rates. And that is the reason for that is that you're looking at monitoring whether your email is going out at the right time. So is it a good time for your subscribers to receive that email? And by time, I mean, is it the right day of the week? And is it the right time of that day? And the only way that you're going to find out the answer to that question is by doing some testing. So testing to see whether you can find a really good day to send your email. And then when you've done that, look at sending it, doing a test of sending it a couple of different times and finding a time that works for your readers. When you get that optimum day and time, you'll want to send your emails on that day at that time, but always keep an open mind and see whether it might change for your readers. Now, if you're watching live, do put your questions into the comments and I will go through them as we go along. If you're watching on catch up still, if you've got a question still, put that in the comments and I will reply. I do look at all the comments on all my posts, so I will get back to you. And if you are watching on catch up, even if you don't have a question, just comment replay and I'll know that you're catching up. So let's get into how you can increase your open rates. So number one thing is to find out what your list wants. Right? When somebody joins your email list, you're thinking, oh, I've offered them these things and they've said yes. But it might be that they're expecting other things from you. You know, when you're not sure about what someone in your life wants, you know, your husband, your children, or your friends, you ask them. So that's a really simple thing to do, is to ask your email list what they want to hear about. You know, what do you think that they want to read? It's going to give you some great answers. And let's face it, if they're asking for, you know, particular topics, you know that that's kind of golden for you. So you're going to give them the content that they really want to read, that they find useful, and it will make a difference to how they run their life or how they run their business. And, you know, we're asked for our opinions all the time, and your email list is no different. So start on working on an online survey that you can send to them. So some examples of questions that you might want to ask them. An open question. So starting with, what would you like to see more of in my newsletters? And then you give people a space to fill in their answers. Now, this gives you what in marketing research is known as qualitative responses. So that you might get lots of different answers written in lots of different ways, but you probably will be able to spot some themes within those answers. You might include multiple choice, where you know, they get to pick one answer. So what one thing would you like to see more in my newsletters? And then you provide a list of things that they pick from, and they pick one thing. And in research terms, that's quantitative. So I'll say that again, quantitative. So that gives you an idea of how many people want to read more about the things that the options that you've given them. And then you can use multiple choice with ratings. So Rate the following from 1 to 5, where 1 is the lowest and 5 is the highest, to tell me what you'd like to see in my newsletter. So that gives people the option to tell you about more things than a single answer multiple choice question. But then it gives you that little nuance of, out of that list of things, what are the things that are important to them? What do they find most interesting? What do they want to learn about? And it doesn't have to be that long. In fact, your survey can be just one of those questions. It can be an open question, a multiple choice question with one answer, or a multiple choice question with ratings, and it can be that one thing. And that's all you give them. And you can have multiple. There are multiple tools out there that give you the option to create surveys. Things like Google Forms, where you can create the surveys and collect the responses. I use Constant Contact. I can create a survey right within there. So that's what I use, and I can easily email it to my list, so I know who's responded as well without even actually digging into the answers. I can create an email invitation. Now, don't forget to put a deadline by which you want the responses. So it just gives people a bit of a heads up that you want a response by a certain time, so that they can do that for you. The next thing to do is to quiz your social media followers. So it's another resource for you to find out what your audience is interested in. And it's likely that people who are following you there perhaps don't get your emails. They haven't signed up for your newsletters. But if they're your target audience, it's worth asking them to. And of course, it's worth asking them to join your email list. So you can use the question types that I've just been through. They're still relevant. Just remember to frame them in a way that makes sense. So for them. So if you were on my email list, what would you like to read about? And Facebook gives you ways to collect those answers. So you can do polls in Facebook. I think you can still do polls. I haven't done one for a while. But obviously you could have the open question, so you can ask that open question, or give people options in your question and ask them to comment with A, B, C, or D, depending on how many options you've got. If you want to see if there are any differences between your email list and social media followers, then set up a separate survey for both. So you could actually have an online survey that you post on social media. And you could set up two different surveys, one that goes to your list and one that you post on social media, and you can see whether there's a difference between those. And like I just mentioned, you might as well, I'm just going to reiterate this, you might as well ask them to join your email list while they're there. Don't forget, if you're watching live, don't forget to ask any questions in the comments. Gosh, it's been a long old weekend, and it's only a 4-day weekend. I'm still having problems with my words. The next thing you want to focus on is your subject line. So, we've gone through finding out what your list wants, and then looking at more widely at your target audience through social media. But the next thing really is honing down on your email itself and looking at the subject line. So the subject line is one of the things that entices your email subscribers to open your email. Long, woolly subject lines, they just don't work. They don't cut it. So what can you do? Well, maybe you've noticed sometimes you get emails with your name in the subject line. I bet that's really caught your attention. I do it every now and again. I don't do it all the time, but that's what's known as personalization. So you're adding the person's first name to the subject line, and it makes them feel like that email's written for them. And I don't know who said it, but there's a quote that goes something like, "Nothing sounds sweeter than your own name," or maybe I'm paraphrasing that, but people like to see and hear their own name. The next thing you can do to increase open rates is to use action words in your subject lines. So things like open for, read how, book now. So in addition to action words, things like exclusivity and limited availability also help to improve your open rates. For example, if you've got an exclusive offer, for example, an exclusive offer for you, or time's running out to do whatever the thing is that you want them to do. So think of ways that you can use your subject lines more creatively to pique people's interests, to increase those open rates. And make your subject lines short and snappy. Too long and people lose interest, and they get cut off in people's inboxes as well, so they won't be able to read the whole subject line. Now, the next thing that you should do is use the space for the pre-header. So the pre-header text is the line of text that comes immediately below the subject line in people's inboxes. So you get the from name, the subject line, and underneath that there's a space for your pre-header. It's a really great place to get people interested in the content of your email. It's an extra space for you to entice them, to tease them about what is in that email. So it can support the subject line. So, for example, if you were a coffee shop, you might have a subject line that says, "Pick up a pastry just for £1," and your pre-header could say something like, "Another tasty way to brighten up your day." So just use that little bit of space to help you draw people in, and perhaps use a bit of intrigue, or another way, something like a pun or a joke that can help people decide whether they open your email or not. The next thing is for people to understand who you are. It's really important. We don't open emails from people that we don't recognize. So do people recognize you when your email pops into their inbox? So today, these days, we're hearing about cybercrime a lot. There's been a lot of scam emails that do the rounds around, particularly around things to do with health and money. And you want to know that that email is from somebody that you trust, someone that you already know. For me, it's pretty easy. I have my first name in my business name. So my from name is always set to Marketing by Manal. So people know that it's from me. But think about what your from name should be. If your business, if it's just you in your business, then perhaps you can use your first name and your business name. So you might use, if I had a cake shop, I might use Manal at Beautiful Cakes. So people understand that it's from you and they trust that it's from you. And it's okay to just use your business name as well, as long as it's easily recognizable. Is it what's on your website? Is it what your business is known as? So making sure that that's consistent is really important for increasing your open rates. And your from name paired with your subject line and your pre-header text are the things that really help people to make that decision about whether they are going to open your email or not, whether they're going to do it now, because almost pretty much never happens. If you look at an email and you think, "Oh, that looks interesting, but I'll read that later," chances are you don't read it later. It's kind of popped out of your head and it's gone. But if it's something that you think, "Oh my gosh, I need to look at that now," and you open it straight away, there's more chance of you actually A, reading the content of the newsletter, and B, acting on that content, doing the thing that the sender wants you to do. So I talked about this at the top of this session, but it's really important to understand whether you're sending your email at a time that's right for your readers. And I'll reiterate, it's the day of the week and the time during that day. And it's a really important factor about whether people will open your email or not. And there's no hard or fast rule as to when that needs to be. And it's different for every kind of industry. It's different for every even business. But typically, I'll give you a couple of examples. Typically, we're looking at times of days that you think might be good for your subscribers. So if you're a hairdresser, think about when your clients are likely to be in their inboxes. It might be during their lunchtime, or it might be after they finished work for the day. If you're an accountant or perhaps a financial advisor, people who look at your emails are more likely to be professionals, maybe, who, especially an accountant, a business owner, it's probably going to be who the type of person that looks at your emails. Or maybe they're in their inbox, their work email at the beginning of their day. Maybe they check their emails before they start their working day. So you might want to send your email out early in the morning so that it's in their inbox when they get in there to check what emails they've got. So it's really important to recognize that the time that you send your email, the day and the time that you send your email, might not be right for your audience. And realistically, what you want to do is test when that perfect time is going to be. So the first thing is to test the day of the week. So take part of your list and send an email on one day of the week that you think that they would like to receive it, and another part of your list, so say 10% of your list on one day and 10% of your list on the other day, and look at what the open rate is for those 2 days. Then look at, once you've figured out which day wins, and it might be that you need to do a couple of tests, and you might need to test more than 2 days. Once you've landed on the best day of the week, then you want to test a couple of times. So again, take a proportion of your list and send at 2 different times within your chosen day, and look at which one gets the most open rates. Now, this is known as split testing or A/B testing, and you can do A/B testing with send days and times, but you can also do it with subject lines. So you can create different subject lines and test them with your list to see which one gets the most opens, and then you can send the remainder of your list an email with the winning subject line. So the next thing that you really need to look out for is whether you've got the right people on your list. And this is really important, right? If you have people on your list who are not part of your target audience, then of course your emails are going to perform poorly. And the answer to this is to clean your email list. Yeah, it sounds dull, it sounds boring. But think about how you'll feel once you've done it and your open rates soar. And even better than that, it'll improve your click rates because your newsletter is having a proper, real impact. And a clean list doesn't only impact your open and click rates, it also has an impact on your pocket if you are paying for your email service. And if you're not, why not? Because by cleaning your email list, you're reducing the number of active contacts that you have on your list, which means you're reducing the amount you pay. You're not paying for people who are on your list who never read your newsletters or who aren't right for the service or product that you sell. And that means you're going to be saving money. So make sure that you really pay attention to who's on your list, and make that cleaning process a regular thing. So, I mean, if you leave it until, to do it all in one go, then it does become a bit of a chore and it is boring and it is dull. But if you clear out your list every single time you send an email, and that means going through your unsubscribes and bounces and understanding why they've happened and clearing those out, that means that you're spending maybe 2 minutes every time you send out an email to make your list cleaner. And maybe once a year, what you do is you go and look at your engagement and see who isn't engaging with your emails and give them the opportunity to stay on your list. And if they don't do anything about that, then you can take those people off your list as well. Clean them off your list so that you start talking to people who really are interested in what you're doing. And then the last thing is really understanding what your list expects. So think about when you ask people to join your email list. What are you saying to them? Are you setting their expectations? Now, if you've done your little survey with your existing email list, with your social media followers, you'll know exactly what they're interested in. You'll know the type of content that interests them. And using that information to tell potential subscribers what they're going to hear from you about is really going to help you to A, grow your email list, but B, make sure that those people open your emails once they've signed up. So think about it. How would you like it if a company emailed you things that were completely irrelevant? You probably wouldn't open their emails. And if you did, after a while, if you did open their emails, you might decide at some point either to unsubscribe or to mark them as spam because that content is irrelevant, it's boring. So setting an expectation with new subscribers, not only about the content, but how often they're going to hear from you, means that they actually want to sign up to your list, but B, they'll also look for those emails. They'll look at them and actually take in the content as well. So that will help you to increase your open rates. So that's a really whistle-stop tour of how you can increase your open rates. And I hope that's helped you because it is, as I said at the beginning, it is one of the most asked questions that I get when I talk about email marketing. And it's still something that sort of preys on people's minds when they're doing email marketing. So I will leave you with information about the next session, which is in 2 weeks' time. I have got with me Andrew Dayton, who is an absolute whiz when it comes to personal development. So when you run your own business, there's never enough time in the day, but you need to take care of your personal development, because if you're not learning, then you're not moving your business on. So I'm going to be talking to Andrew about how people like you and me who perhaps are running their business on their own or maybe have a small team can really get to grips with personal development and make sure that that happens. And so that's in 2 weeks' time. And the last thing I want to leave you with is a link to my email list. So I have an email called The Marketing Morsel, and it's a weekly email in which I talk about one marketing thing at a time. And they're things that are designed to help you get to grips with your marketing. But it's a little bit more than just a weekly email. It's also a little bit of a community. So once you join that email list, you get access to my private Facebook group. So you have direct access to me. And in that group, I do things like group discussions through Facebook Messenger. So we can all see each other and we can have a general discussion about marketing your business. I also do member-only webinars. So I did a webinar recently about designing images for your email list. So you only get invited to that if you receive the Marketing Morsel. I also have a forum every 3 months called the Marketing Motivator. That's for the most engaged people on my Facebook group and in the list, on my email list. It's limited to 6 people, and you get to tell me and the other attendees a challenge that you're having, and we give you solutions that you can go away and implement. So those are a couple of things that you get, a couple of the benefits that you get for receiving the Marketing Morsel. There's more, so if you click on the link, you can see what else you get, and I do hope you join me on that. So don't forget, in 2 weeks' time, I have Andrew Dayton, and we're talking about personal development, which is such an important thing. I will see you in 2 weeks. Take care and have a really great 2 weeks.